everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of Technically Trek. I am your host, Dave Prime, and over yonder there, doing this long enough to figure that out, is my guest co-host tonight, Tyson Strasberg. Sadly, Captain Katie has not been feeling well, so she has taken a temporary leave of absence. And we wish her the best and look forward to seeing with her soon. So, Tyson, how are you doing? Sorry I missed the show Sunday night. I had personal things I had to deal with.
No, we all need a break, and I get that. I'll do my best to flip myself upside down by the end of the show so I can try to be Bat Tyson at least once, if I can figure out how that works.
Just in case if people still don't know, if it wasn't for Tyson and Mano Intirami's main show, Dangerous Thoughts, on Sunday nights that you can catch here on YouTube as well, this show probably wouldn't even exist. I wouldn't even have thought of doing anything like this, let alone going live on YouTube myself. So thank you, sir. And if anyone wants to check it out, it's Sundays at 6 o'clock, dangerousthoughts.show.
Well, I appreciate the plug, but you know what? This is 100% yours, and I'm just very grateful to be here. And I'm loving those lights you got in the back. It's still beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful feel. It's a lot better than my messy bedroom background.
Yeah, same, but like the blue and the green, that there's a reason for that. Those are Seahawk colors. So, and well, it wasn't a trouncing, but they did beat the Denver Broncos on Sunday. So, yay! even though Russell Wilson wasn't there anymore, part of the team, I say not a Broncos fan.
You know, I don't have a team anymore. We used to have the San Diego Chargers. Now they're the Los Angeles Chargers.
Well, they're
guess what finger I'm holding up?
Your index.
That one. Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of Spanos, moving the team and all that. But, so I figure I'm going to go ahead and just go for Kansas City Chiefs. It's good enough for Taylor Swift. And by the way, I don't know if you saw her post last night, but there's another thing that's good enough for Taylor Swift. So it's good enough for me.
She doesn't eat cats like the people in Ohio.
My goodness, that was last night's. I don't want to get political, but last night's debate was a trouncing, and I'm still glowing. I loved it. Anyway, that said, today's show, right before we came live on the air, backstage, it was just like a minute or two before we started. The end of the show sequence and then the title credits came on, and Dave's like, "Are you just now finishing the show?" I'm like, "Yes." Like just now finished the show. So everything is fresh in my head. So bring it on. I can talk about it.
All right, and the episode we're talking about is Elementary Dear Data, and I will bring my good friend Phil into the stage as well here.
Hello.
Whoops.
Hello.
Right. Yeah, he just finished watching the episode himself too, so it's not just you.
Half an hour ago, I finally finished it.
Yeah, see, I actually finished it on Monday, which is unusual for me because there's been a lot of personal things going on with my life. It took me over 100 days to get to step 1 in the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. As many of you may know, I am an alcoholic. I've been almost 4 months sober now, but it took 100 days to get to step 1. Took 1 week to get to step 2. I get my 4 months.
What's step 2?
That's good.
Step 2 is believing that there's like a power greater than myself that can restore me to sanity.
Here's something I want to tell you, Dave, and I know this
is the technically part, everybody. So technically,
this is the technically part. This goes against some of AA's philosophy, which I'm not a huge fan of, but if it helps you, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
If you have stopped drinking and you no longer have the cravings and you continue to pursue not drinking, in my book, you are no longer an alcoholic. Now, I know they want you to think you're an alcoholic for the rest of your life, and you always start the meeting, "Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm an alcoholic." You're not. Okay, you stopped being an alcoholic, and I think that's fantastic. And I think labeling oneself, continuing to label oneself as an alcoholic when you're not, is unfair. And I don't think that's a fair thing. So you've been sober 4 months. Guess what? You ain't an alcoholic. Keep it up.
Well,
Keep it up.
it's funny because I mean they're going out of the big book and say there's four types of alcoholics that are mentioned in the book. There's the real alcoholic. There's like mind, body, and spirit. There's the dry alcoholic, which you're a real alcoholic, but you're not working the steps and you're not drinking. But right now, I'm a recovering alcoholic, which I'm a real alcoholic, but I'm working the steps. And then the fourth type is a recovered alcoholic. So even though you're not drinking anymore, I mean, deep down, like a lot of people, like I've met people that have been 10, 20, 30 years sober, and they say I am an alcoholic. I don't drink, but
And it's a
it,
philosophical difference that I have, and I'm just
I
telling you,
respect that.
I don't agree with that philosophy. I think that there are alcoholics out there, absolutely, and you can have. For example, if I'm an ex-smoker, I don't tell everybody, "Hi, my name is Tyson, and I'm a smoker." No, I'm not. I'm a former smoker. I'm not a smoker anymore. I'm not going to be a smoker for the rest of my life if I'm not a smoker anymore. You know what I mean? An alcoholic is the same thing. I just don't agree with that. That continuing to identify as something you're not. But
Yeah.
again, it's my belief that you are no longer an alcoholic. But you do you, and I'll believe what I believe. Anyway, that said, today's show I'm really excited about because any data-centric show is a good show. Anything, and I think when we look at Voyager, anything around the Doctor is fun, right? Anything on TNG with Data is fun. Anything on Deep Space Nine with Odo is fun. It's always those supporting characters, that are beloved. That when we focus on one of them, it's going to be a good show.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good show. I'd forgotten how good the show was. And I've always liked TNG. And I forget who's the actor who plays Moriarty.
Daniel Davis.
Daniel Davis, right? Which you'll also know him from The Nanny. He was the butler, Niles, right?
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about him is that he was born in the U.S., lived his whole life in the U.S. That is a fake British accent, but it is so perfect that native Britons listening to him thought he was British. Like, when people try to fake an accent, like I tried to fake an Irish accent, oh, look at that. Here I am doing an Irish accent. Real Irish people would look at that and be like, oh my God, that is so Hollywood, so fake. So that's not the way we talk, right? But his British accent was so good that Brits thought he was British.
I thought he was British.
Yeah, he's not. And he gets a lot of roles where because it is such a good accent that they get him for those roles. But if you've ever watched The Hunt for Red October, he played a captain of one of the aircraft carriers, and that's one of the few times. Was it the Enterprise? Yeah, I think it was the Enterprise. And you'll hear him speaking in his Native American accent, accent, which is one of the only times you'll hear him speaking American English.
Yeah, because it's been a long time since I've watched that movie, and Gates McFadden had a brief role in that movie as well.
She did. Ironically, she wasn't part of Next Generation when this episode was filmed. She had separated and she came back season 3 and then on. But because this involved Dr. Pulaski, of course. So it's interesting that they were both on a film, and that's one of the. By the way, Hunt for Red October was filmed contemporaneously with season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, because it was during that season 1, season 3 break during season 2 that she filmed that. So, fun little fact.
Yeah, and I think she went by a different name in the credits too. Because I mean, talking Daniel Davis in Red October, it's like, why didn't I think of putting down notes on McFadden as well? But saying Philip, what's some of your like early thoughts on the episode?
As I said, I just finished about a half an hour ago, so I didn't really kind of get a chance to let it all see. It's been a long time since I've seen a next gen episode. I've to come back and see like an early one too, which was 1990. It was kind of fun to go back and see it again. I enjoyed it. I could probably be some nitpicky about a few things, but it was actually, my one thought is that while it sort of feels a little dated, it's also still very well done episode though. At the same time, to move back and forth, going in and out of the what do you call it, the
Holodeck?
holodeck. Thank you. To go back and forth between those two sets, and that I thought was, I can see why it was like an expensive show to produce. I know at the time it was like the most expensive show on television at that time, and I can kind of see why. But even in a simple episode like this, for things like costumes and the change in sets and a whole bunch of the extras, but yeah, it was kind of fun just to see this crew again and the interaction, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it actually.
One thing that you said, and it dawned on me. I was just watching. I don't know if it was the History Channel or what. It was a documentary on Star Trek. Star Trek: The Next Generation, over the 7 seasons that it aired, made Paramount $500 million.
I believe it.
So, from 87 to 90, was it 92 or 94? 94, right?
4.
Or 93,
94,
I don't know.
yeah.
4. So during that run, it made Paramount $500 million. So that's, might have been an expensive show, but they got paid.
They got paid. Yeah. So, and putting it in syndication, like it wasn't on like a proper network. So I think that also, they saved some money on that too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they're still getting paid, right? Because BBC is airing Next Generation and other around the world. It's still being aired, and as long as it's being aired in syndication, they're still getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, but or at least when it comes to the actors.
Yeah.
Paramount is still getting paid, and the actors, depending on their contract.
Oh yeah. It's because it's on. Yeah, it's because it's on Netflix and Paramount, I think. So it's it's still making money. So
and Tubi and Freevee and all the other streaming, So yeah, and it's being aired on actual cable channels. So you add up the streaming, the being aired on cable and satellite, everything else. Money is still being made, and you can still buy. If you look at my wall here, there's a lot of Star Trek paraphernalia, all of it licensed through Paramount. So even today, every time you buy a little Star Trek trading card, they're making money.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. In Canada, we had this our version of the Sci-Fi Channel for the longest time was Space, the Imagination Station, they called it. And it ran on that thing. I think the entire, unfortunately the channel's gone now. I think it was sold and bought. It was really real shame but man, they ran, it was almost like the all Star Trek channel. It just constantly ran TNG for years and years and years and years. It was always on, and people watched it. The reason it stayed on so long was that people were still watching it in reruns over and over and over. So yeah, it had a big following here for sure. But
I have to say that with all the different Star Treks now that are out there, I find that if you were to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to watch Star Trek TOS season 1, episode 1, and I'm going to watch every episode of every series and all the movies, it would probably take you several years to get through. If you watch 1 or 2 a day, every day, take up, and then by the time you were done, it would have been several years since you saw TOS episode 1, season 1. So you go back and watch that again. Oh, I haven't seen this in several years. So I think that's why they can, rerun them over and over and over, because you never know where somebody's at in their Star Trek journey. And then by the time they're through it, what's old is new again. I don't know.
Oh, Well, I know Katie wouldn't watch any of the TOS, so
Yeah.
Well, that's Katie. Yeah, she doesn't want to. And you know what? I respect Katie for being honest about that, which I think is very important. People will be honest. But the good thing about Star Trek is there's always something for someone. You might not love everything about Star Trek, but I bet if you go back and kids, they might like Lower Decks, or they might like Prodigy, or they might like one of those Star Treks. More mature people with a sixth sense of humor would definitely like Lower Decks. If some people really love Enterprise. They think it feels a little more real with the way the uniforms and the ship is laid out. Like, it doesn't look too fantastical. Where you look at some of the other stuff and it's like really out there. I don't know. There's something for everybody. Chances are, if you don't like this Star Trek, you might like this one, or this one, or this one, or this one.
I would say, but when I watched the episode the other night, I noticed something that wasn't even listed as a goof or a whoops on IMDb, so I haven't had a chance to put it up there. But say when the episode starts with Data walking off the turbo lift, the door says he was on deck 22. The door to his right, as he was walking by, it said he was on deck 14 or deck 19. But the next shot is him rounded the corner at engineering, which is on deck 36. Just like, what the heck? That's like a really big oopsadilla.
Somebody didn't think through the schematics.
Right. When people, just like now, once they told me about the little black squares along the back panel of the bridge, where all that stuff, where the studio lights would shine and reflect, and so they put those little black felt, where the lights were.
Right. Yeah.
Until somebody pointed it out, and I've watched this for years and years, decades and decades, and I never caught that until somebody pointed it out, and then once they pointed it out, you can never not see that again.
Mm-hmm.
Now every time you watch it, you see.
No, it's there.
But it's funny that you don't recognize what you're not. If you're not looking for it, you don't see it. And Dave, I know, is really really astute. I've probably seen that episode several times, and I never caught that.
Actually, don't recall how many times I've seen the episode either, but having it on my computer monitor, I was like, wait a second. I wasn't talking to you, Alexa. My wake word for my Alexa is computer. And she believed it. I said it loud enough that she responded.
I have to be careful not to mention that I've got a coworker named, I'm going to spell this, Alexis. But I can't. Yes, but I can't say that because it sounds too similar to Alexa.
Oh.
Whenever I'm on a call and I say her name, this damn thing goes off, and I'm like, oh, I have to unplug it every time.
You can just hit the mute button too.
Yeah.
And then it turns the ring red, and then that way.
There is supposed to be a way where you can change its wake name to something else. I think in the living room it's like Ziggy, and that way it's like the most uncommon. How often does Ziggy come up in conversation? So maybe I'll do that.
There you go.
Do you know, actually, sorry, I should. The funny thing is, I almost watched the wrong episode tonight. For some reason, I had the title "Fistful of Datas" in my mind, and I was looking for it, and I almost ended up watching that one by mistake until I realized, wait a minute, no, that's the Western. I think it's supposed to be the Moriarty episode, and I realized, oh, it's Elementary, Dear Data, and I was like, but also apparently
there's a lot of holodeck gone crazy episodes.
I was going to make that comment too.
The other thing too is I was watching it. I think there was actually 2 episodes about Moriarty, wasn't there? Because I thought it had a different ending. I thought there was something where they tricked him into getting into.
Was it Ship in a Bottle? Was that the other one?
Ship in a Bottle.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So there is 2 separate. Okay, so I was expecting it to end like that, and I was like, oh, this is wrapping up really quick. And I thought,
you're like, where's that where he takes the book and opens the holodeck doors and throws out the book and it disappears to show Moriarty that you can't exist out there. You're like, right. I've been waiting for that scene. It never happened. That's because it happens in the next one.
In the next one.
Where, what's his name?
Geordi?
Oh my God, why can't I think of the name of the ensign that stutters? Not the ensign, the lieutenant that
Barkley.
stutters. Barkley, where he goes in the holodeck because, again, they're playing Sherlock Holmes. A character is left-handed who should be right-handed, or vice versa, and then they ask Barkley to go see what's wrong with it, and Barkley accidentally activates Moriarty, and that's where we get the episode "Ship in the Bottle," and that's so all the scenes that you were thinking of that didn't happen, it belongs in that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
of
makes
course.
sense. Yeah.
Of course, when they made this episode, they thought Sherlock Holmes was in public domain at that point, which they weren't, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's family was just like, "Whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? You guys didn't ask permission to do this episode." So it took the Ship in a Bottle several years. I think they had to pay royalties to the family, even though it was just outside public domain, but they did it to be polite, so they could wrap that storyline up. But that
Very
also
nice.
being
Well, it
said,
was a really good episode. So, I don't know why, but this is going to get me a lot of hate mail. I probably like Catherine Pulaski more than I liked Beverly Crusher. I thought she was more interesting. I thought, she's a little bit obstinate.
Yeah.
She had some self-righteous, but I mean, it gave her some character. I feel like Dr. Crusher is just there to be pretty. I don't feel the same about her. Anyway, go ahead.
I was planning to comment tonight that I always did like Dr. Pulaski, and it was sorry that she never came back in any way, shape, or form. I thought, because I still liked Gates McFadden, but there was something about that character when they brought in Dr. Pulaski. I went, I like this, and I guess their biggest complaint was that she was at the time that I remember is a lot of, at least some friends of mine were complaining, oh, she's trying to be too much like a female Dr. McCoy. And I was like, maybe, I guess, but doctors are kind of like that, but I don't know.
Well, she has some experience on the original Star Trek. So
yes, she did. Yeah.
Eliza's guitar in like one other episode, I want to say.
What's that? She was...
I think one of the episodes she was in was The Lights of Zatar.
Oh.
Well, she was definitely in the one with the... My brain is not working today. With the starts with the M, the aliens that drive people crazy if you see their face.
That's The Lights of Zatar.
Oh, okay.
What's the name of the alien?
She absorbs people's pain, and she...
Medusans.
Medusa. Yeah, I keep wanting to say Mandalorian. I knew that wasn't right. Okay. Medusan. Right. my brain is not working today. Medusans. Yeah, she was the blind lady that wore the wore the censor dress.
Yeah.
That was Pulaski. So, and if she was on a different episode also, I didn't know that, but I definitely knew she was on that.
I'm pulling up her...
She was in a couple
credits right now.
What was her name, the actress?
Oh, I was just looking at it not long ago.
Diana Muldaur.
That's it, yeah.
Who?
Diana Muldaur.
Diana Muldaur. Well...
Saying she was...
So, I mean, she actually got to work with Dr. McCoy. So,
I take that back. Is there no truth in beauty?
Oh.
That's when she played Dr. Miranda Jones. And then in season 2, she was in the episode Return to Tomorrow as Anne Mulhall.
Okay.
That's like when they had the had those people that evolved and went to spheres.
Right, yeah. I think I vaguely remember that one, but yeah.
I vaguely remember that one too. It's been definitely a few years.
Is that the one with the is that the one with the Klingons?
I don't think so. But is there no truth?
Well, I know there was an alien race that were all made of energy, but they took physical form when Kirk went there, and he tried to warn them that the Klingons were going to invade. And the Klingons were going to, enslave all the people, and he kept saying, no, don't fight back, we're not going to fight, we don't need your protection. And it all turns out that they were all made of energy, and they only took human form for the benefit of the Klingons and the Federation and that they didn't want any part of the war. So anyway.
Now let me look at the rest of the.
You're gonna find your name.
Yeah, but there's definitely body swapping involved with the Return to Tomorrow, but I don't see anybody that was marked as being any Klingons in that episode.
Well, where is our legacy Zach today?
I'm not sure. See, there's like zero comments going on right now, so
Is there anybody watching?
It
doesn't.
says
It
0.
looks. Yeah, but there's the 3 of us, so I don't think we count. So, and
Right.
there's one person watching on YouTube. That might be me.
I just opened it very briefly as well for a moment. I'm going to close it again.
If you if you move your cursor over the little eyeball next to the live, it'll show you.
0 and 0.
Yep.
Because I'm on Twitch as well, but I haven't. I don't think I've gotten any participations in Twitch, so I don't know how much longer I'll be doing that. But if I want to do it live on Twitter, I have to pay the Muskrat premium for that. Oh, now we got two people watching on YouTube.
But the thing is, hello people. Well, the thing is that people go back and watch the reruns too. That only shows us who's watching live. But because this is saved on the internet, there are people like Katie and who maybe aren't feeling well right now, but will come back and watch this episode later. And I know Travis is working; he may come back and watch this episode later, and others. So
I miss being able to talk to him live. It's been a hot minute since he and I actually been talked over the phone, so we got to make a point of chatting with him one of these days, especially with Lower Decks coming up here in just about 6-7 weeks. Which I was able to. Yeah. I was able to confirm they are airing the first 2 episodes on the 24th.
Of what month?
Of October.
October, okay.
Yeah, October 24th, and then it go. I think the last episode airs December 19th, so just right before Christmas.
I have the week of November 3rd. I think that's the Sunday. Off for U.S. elections. In the U.S., we vote on the first Tuesday of November, which would be November 5th. So I've got the entire week off because I don't think they're going to make the mistake of 4 years ago by calling the election right away. I have a feeling with all, January 6th and everything that happened that they might take a couple of days to really tally everything up and make sure that they're good before they call anything. And I know I'll be useless at work because I would be too busy watching the news. All right, please God, don't let it be Trump. So I will be too invested in that to be of any use at work. So I just took the week off so I can relax. I have a bottle of champagne and a bottle of vodka, depending on who wins. That'll depend what gets opened. I'm hoping it'll be the champagne, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway, back to Star Trek. The only reason I brought that up is, I'm going to be available that week, and I can watch Lower Decks because there'll be a new episode out that week. And it'll probably be what I need to tear me away from CNN for like 3 seconds. I can watch that episode. And I have to tell you, it's going to be my favorite part of any year is October, November, December, right? Because in that small little swath of space from October 31st to January 1, you've got 4 nice holidays there. You've got the Halloween. I love Halloween. Love, the decorations, getting dressed up and the whole fun of it all. Love Thanksgiving, love Christmas, love New Year's, and I love that it's a colder part of the year. The smell of pine is in the air, the Christmas lights, the decorations. It's just a jovial time. And I hate summer. We're just coming off of. It was the first day in the 80s. Like for the last several months, it's been high 90s to low 100s. And 3 days ago, it was 114 degrees. So just effing awful.
And
so
factor in the humidity. Good grief. Maybe you should move here to the Springs, man, because even though it's hot, it's a dry heat.
But the air is really thin there too, and so that's
thinner, yeah.
Well, if like I have a touch of COPD, and it's, if I move somewhere where it's really thin air, I'll get tired, have trouble breathing, and then there will be hot days, and that would impact it even more. I don't know. I need something lower altitude, I think. Washington, I was thinking of going to Bremerton. That's why my brother's there. So, I have family there. And, Washington's beautiful.
And it doesn't get too horribly hot there because 26 years living there, I think I know.
Are you from Washington, or are you?
Right on the border in Idaho.
Like Coeur d'Alene?
No, Lewiston. So south of Coeur d'Alene. Or as I like to say, where the border goes from straight to squiggly, Lewiston's at the squiggly.
My dad, he's passed away, but he and my stepmom's still alive. She lives in Spokane, which is it's closer to the Idaho side of Washington.
Yeah. A little further than Clarkson, but yeah, it's just a couple miles off the Idaho border.
Have you been to Bremerton? Not Bremerton, Spokane. Have you been there?
Oh, countless times, yeah. I actually drove through there during my trips. When I first drove down here in May of last year, I took the south route, so I went through Pendleton, down through Boise, and then kind of cut through off of Salt Lake and hit Wyoming on the south end, and then dropped down. But going back, I went up north through Montana, then through Coeur d'Alene, Spokane, spent the night outside of Spokane before making my final push back to Seattle, then doubled back on my way here in June.
Wow, that's I'm tired just hearing you talk about how long you drove. I don't like. Maybe it's because I'm from Southern California that anytime I think of driving, I think of the roads in Southern California, like the I-5 in LA, and where you're sitting in. There's 6 lanes of traffic in this direction, 6 lanes of traffic in the other direction, and a total of 12 lanes, and nobody's moving. Like that to me is what driving down the freeway is like. So
that's Seattle with half the lanes.
There you go. Yeah. Actually, yeah, the I-5 does go through Washington, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Tijuana to Vancouver.
That's it.
BC.
So I may have been on the 5 for a short period of time, but I'm sure you guys have your rush hour, but whatever it was, even if it was a little bit of rush hour, it's not Los Angeles or San Diego rush hour. That's a whole. That's like driving a cab in New York. It's awful. It's just awful.
Yeah, I always tell customers, just like Seattle to Everett, it's a 30-mile drive. During rush hour, that 30 miles can take you 90 minutes.
Yeah. So,
back to the episode.
Little country roads in.
I'm like the other side of the continent. I have no idea what.
Little country roads in Colorado don't bother me.
Yeah, but no, I-5's the major interstate that goes from the Canadian border all the way down to Tijuana, the Mexican border.
To the Mexican border, right. Yeah. Literally connects Mexico to Canada, straight up through California, Oregon, and Washington.
I haven't heard of it, but okay, all right.
But
I-5, it's Interstate 5, I-5.
The 5. But I kind of made a note from early in the episode when when Geordi and Data were talking about the HMS Victory model that Geordi was building, talking about it being a much simpler time. He'd really want to sail away on a ship like that. And in Star Trek Generations, Riker orders him to do something with a stencil, and he just looks at him, what's a stencil? I just like, apparently he didn't have a stencil on the Victory.
Or he didn't know what to call it. But and yeah, you know, when I was looking at that ship, I was thinking the same thing. Like in a few years, you're going to be on the holodeck. By the way, another holodeck, right?
And not only that, a holodeck incident that went crazy, it went sideways when Data shoves Crusher off the ship.
Computer,
Oh
delete
yeah.
the plank.
Delete the plank.
That's
remove the plank. That's retract plank, not remove plank.
You know, this is a point that actually I couldn't get out of my head while watching this episode. And I've thought this for many years. Whenever I see these holodeck, well, two things is that occur to me. One is like when the entertainment machine, the holodeck, disrupts the entire ship. Like there's some serious programming issues going on. Then if the computer somehow causes the entire ship, that thing's got to go in and get that fixed. Like,
well, and then we're talking Barclay earlier. He connected that chair to the main computer and took over the ship.
Not be happening in like a starship that's exploring other planets and like.
Right.
That's got to be.
At what point do you think that there isn't an analog solution, right? A holodeck has power, right?
Yeah.
So you imagine these EPS power. Well, what about a very analog thing, like a switch, some way to physically disconnect the power?
That's what I thought.
So that, I mean, as long as you throw the switch and there's no connection, the power goes off and everything, you know.
What's driving me nuts is that they're only in a room that's like the size of my living room. She's like right there. She's like right through that wall. If somehow we could get rid of this digital thing that's around us, she's just right there. Right. I couldn't get that out of my head. The fact she's probably within arm's reach and you can't get near her.
Because the computer kind of does that little depth perception,
even when they're running away with her or something, I'm thinking like I'd have to go back and see it again. Because when they're in the holodeck and they're looking at people way in the distance, that's longer, like they're people that are in there with them and appear to be way in the distance. Somehow it's got to play with the perception.
I have a question. I'm sure you guys have thought this too. In this episode, Picard very specifically said, holodeck matter cannot leave the holodeck. And in the episode that you were thinking of, Ship in a Bottle, he even illustrates this by throwing a book outside the holodeck and you watch it disappear as it passes the threshold.
Right.
And yet people will eat meals in the holodeck and walk out. Does it come out of the
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking it's actually the food replicator making actual food.
Yeah, there is some replicator technology involved with certain things like food, like physical pieces of paper that Data took out.
The replicator make him out of replicated matter and let him leave? I mean, if food can leave, he should be able to leave. He wouldn't be control. I mean, he would probably just. I don't know. It's just a lot of issues. If holodeck matter can't leave, but some holodeck matter can if it's consumable.
Yeah.
And then what about matter you leave in the holodeck? And I'm not going to get gross, but just use your imagination. What happens to that matter?
Well, haven't you watched the episode of Lower Decks with waste sanitation?
Yes. I don't know if that's canon.
I have to see that one again. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, holodeck waste removal. You have to assume that, if you could do anything in a holodeck, people probably do. And, I'm assuming that a holodeck may have a restroom or a hotel. I mean, there could be all sorts of matter left behind.
You would hope that whoever designed the program and built these things has taken all of these into account. They have to be.
Right.
No one ever says, program, I got to go to the bathroom and then run out, use it, and then come back.
Right. So, not just holodeck matter, but actual matter has to also be removed from the holodeck. Either, you eat something, you take it out, or matter that is left in the holodeck has to be turned into energy and, not drop on the floor.
Put away somewhere,
yeah, so there's there's some curiosities about the holodeck. I'm still fuzzy on, but I'll move the show along. Next topic, Dave.
I looking at some of my scribblings. I'm not sure where it was, but it felt like that there was a transgender reference in the episode.
The what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. What did
yeah,
I?
yeah. I wrote Data Holmes deducing Sir was Madam. I say I'm glad to watch it again to kind of put. Like I said, I watched this on Monday instead of a couple hours
No,
Yeah.
ago.
no, no. What happened was after Pulaski is taken, a dead man is found, and I think it had something to do with she was the madam of Sir, who had been being abused, and so she waited till he got drunk, and then she
Oh, was
used her
thinking of-
neck
yeah.
scarf with beads to. But I don't. There was never anything that said that she was transgender. I would have
I'll
noticed
also
that.
watch
I mean,
it.
some things get by me. That would not have got by me.
Yeah, but I mean, when looking at things and stuff, let's say even though Geordi's the one that made the little oops to tell the computer to create an adversary capable of defeating Data,
Hmm.
say Pulaski's got to take some fault in that too because she is like
Yes,
kind
I
of
thought
goading
that
the
too.
situation. Say that Data can't solve a Holmes
Yeah,
mystery.
yeah. I mean, it was an accident. Like it was an honest accident. It's not like something he should be reprimanded for. I mean, they were
Oh
only.
no.
It was their off time. They're playing a game. They should be allowed to, And if it was one wrong thing you said that like fucks up the ship, I'm like,
Hmm.
that's on somebody's programming. And
But by the way, did you notice that there was no mystery and nothing was ever solved?
yes, yeah,
I mean, they only got
they
to the
got
point where they found
sidetracked.
Moriarty, then realized that he had, he was aware of who he was and who they were, and then they tried to figure out how, they could
I
confront him.
thought the dead
And
person
when
in
they
the
do,
street
it's
was
just
maybe the intended. I thought the dead person in the street was maybe the intended mystery originally.
oh yeah, I'm sure that well then no, because the computer created Moriarty to outwit Data,
Right.
and
Oh, true.
so Moriarty was a product of the computer trying to outwit Data, but no mystery. I mean, the only real mystery is how he became sentient, right? That might have been the mystery.
Oh, maybe that was a mystery.
But I
Yes.
mean, the only thing he did was carry off Pulaski and feed her and give her tea. I mean, that's there
To be
was
exact.
no murder most foul. So I don't know what mystery he was supposed to have solved. It never came to that. Data just capitulated at the end and said, "You're the better man," and Moriarty's like, "No, that's not going to work."
Hmm.
But nothing ever got solved, right? No mystery ever got. So it's still up in the air whether Data could solve a Holmes-like mystery. And then the second time they tried it, Moriarty came again. Now that one got closer to it because they had to figure out how to trick him into thinking he left the real world, got in a shuttle, and flew away, when in reality he didn't. I think that might be more of a mystery, but like nothing was solved, right? Did he solve a Holmesian type mystery in that whole show? I don't think he did.
Oh.
Other than that's what threw me off is the dead person in the street. I was wondering what even the whole purpose of that was.
Maybe like Data said, it was a misdirect.
It was a misdirect of some kind. Yeah.
Right. But it had nothing to do with the puzzle he was meant to solve, which, again, there was no mystery. I mean, the doctor was carried off, so we have the setting up of what could be, something interesting. But then once, Data realizes that okay, you're aware of us, we're aware of you, we're going to get the captain involved. I mean, but there's no mystery. I don't know. It's just that was kind of a letdown. I wish that they had gone through the motions and Data had a lot more sleuthing to do before he came to Moriarty, and then then we could have encountered that, but there wasn't. It might have been a timing Maybe they're just, it's only so much you can do in 43 minutes.
Yeah, but it was just kind of great when, well, two things. One, as saying Pulaski made a comment that talking about the size and the holodeck and all that, would say that London was hundreds of square kilometers. It was actually closer to 2,000 square kilometers in
I thought
1890
that too. I
London.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's like 693 square miles, so it'd be hundreds of square miles, but kilometers, it's like 1,800 in 1890.
Right.
See, I looked that up. But that's just a
Because London really hasn't changed in size that much. It might have grown a bit, but it's always been a big place. Like it's yeah.
That it's interesting that relatively Canada and the US are very young. So if you look at our historical buildings, I mean, it goes back, I mean, at the earliest, maybe the Vikings in the 1400s, Columbus in 1492 famously, but we don't have building, because the Native Americans didn't build castles and things that that would survive. Mostly it was teepees and mud huts and things like that. So some of the oldest architecture is in that Europe, Middle East, Africa, and I have never been outside of the United States, save to go to Tijuana a few times. But I mean, I haven't traveled really. I've never been to Canada. I've never been outside of the continental U.S. Would love to go to London. Would love to see, what does something really ancient look like a 2,000 year
there last June for the first time.
Huh?
I was just there last June for the first time. Finally, because I have been obsessed with wanting to go to England for ages.
How was it?
So for me, because of my background and because I've been wanting to go there for so long, it was spectacular. I was mesmerized the whole 2 weeks. I can't wait to go back. I'm thinking of getting my ancestry visa and moving there for a while so I could take in the rest of the country. I almost kind of felt at home there. Like it was fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely. And yes, there's a picture of a Roman wall that I took that's like was built in like 200 AD, and you're just like, you look at the bricks, and think that how far back things go. I had this running gag because I grew up in London, Ontario, and I sort of made this joke that it's like, yeah, in London we have a home built in 1700s, and it's like this old place is 300 years old. You go to England, it's like something old is like here it's like 3,000 years old.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And when you think of where Dave and I grew up, I mean, it's not the eastern U.S., which was populated by modern civilization much earlier than the West Coast, right? Because as the wagon trains moved west. So California, Oregon, Washington were kind of the last things to get developed. So some of our oldest buildings in California aren't more than 250 years old. Like the oldest thing in California might be 250 years old. Same with Oregon, Washington. I mean, it's just not that old. You get to really see old, you have to go to the East Coast, in the original 13 colonies that date all the way back to the 1400s and 1500s. Like that to us is really old. And Ontario being on the East Coast, you probably have things that are older than what we have here in California.
Quebec City has one of the earliest settlements. It goes back to like 1600s. There's some areas there that are just ancient. Yeah,
right.
They're quite old.
But even in my life, my whole life here in California, like if I look at something that's a couple hundred years old, I'm like, God, that's old. That was built in the 1800s. My God, that's so old. Like I don't know what I would do if I went to London. Some of the roads in London existed before the first white man stood foot in North America, right? Yeah. Some of those roads are just 1,000 years old. Italy, of course, has some of the oldest roads. As they say, all roads lead to Rome, right? Really interesting.
But should get back to Star Trek, but yeah, I could.
Yeah, say like the contraption that Moriarty had in his lab. I mean, it had a very steampunk look to it. It's like
Yeah.
running on steam and things like that. But looking in the background, he had some digital, like 24th century monitor of some sort attached to it, which I, again, didn't notice that before until my recent rewatch. I'm just like, okay.
It is interesting that he had a very like being able to call up the Arch, the computer, and everything he knew. I mean,
Mhm.
he built a very contemporary to his time contraption to shake the ship, right? As smart as he was, and with the picture of the Enterprise there and all the mathematics written around it, I think he could have come up with something better than a steam barrel and a locomotive handle. Like, I don't know why. I mean, Moriarty, come on.
Well, Doc Brown was able to convert a new time machine out of a locomotive, so it just he just didn't have the tools
But that was a
necessary.
whole locomotive. That wasn't just the barrel and a handle. That was a whole locomotive.
Budget and time restraints, probably.
Just dealing with what technology was available to him to be able to build something. Kind of goes in along that route.
Right. That's.
Did anyone else notice, if I can mention this really quick, there's a few things I kind of like to bring up later, but the one thing just because at this point of the story, when he handed Data that piece of paper and then he goes charging off the ship, and which that was weird too, that also he wouldn't say anything to Geordi until they got outside. But anyways, they got out and he goes to show it to him and he shows him the paper, but then he like looks at it in shock and then he flips it upside down and then he flips it back and I'm like, wouldn't you turn it this way instead of flipping it this way and like, looking at the picture of the ship upside down?
Yeah.
And the light was so that you could see through the paper.
Yeah.
So you actually see him looking at it upside down before he flips it over, which makes it even more stupid. When you're right, he could have just turned it this way and it would have been right side up both times instead of. I'm sure they did it for dramatic effect, but if you're going to do it for dramatic effect, don't let us see through the upside down Enterprise. It was awful.
Yeah, I made a note on that too.
Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. I jumped ahead on you, but
That's okay. I see that I found that just like bouncing around is more fluid than just going to sync up scene by scene because.
Well, at 7:00, which is in just a couple of minutes, I'm gonna have to drop. So maybe Phil could take over as your primary co-host for the last half. I do have to get ready for Annette, but all in all, yes, I have my critiques. It was a good episode. It was entertaining. It was fun to watch. I really wish that there would have been more of a mystery there before we got to the Moriarty. More of a mystery that had to do with him and not the red herring. I did think it was kind of silly, flipping of the paper. I thought that, having that steam barrel with the locomotive handle was kind of dumb. He could have come up with something like a joystick or a button that he pushed or something a little more creative, considering how genius he was. And, he had access to a computer and he drew all the Einsteinian math up there that it was kind of weird.
The levers for more dramatic effect, probably.
Huh?
The lever's more dramatic effect by like yanking it and it causes the ship to rock. Probably just has more effect than just like push. But it's like, ooh, push.
Well, and the writers were under a tremendous strain. I mean, you're putting out a new show every week. Back then it was 20, 26, 27 shows a season. Today it's 10 shows a season.
And this season was during the writer's strike too, so they had that constriction.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah. Was it 1990?
88, 89.
Oh,
see, so that's why
this is season 2. It started in 1987.
Right. Yes, everything started in 88. That's right. It was 87. It was the year before I left for college. Wow. Jeez. Yeah.
But that's why they ended season 2 with that clip show.
Right. Yeah.
Because of budget and stuff. Because they spent so much money on on Q-Who, and I forget the other episode that they spent a lot of money on for special effects. I want to say off the top of my head, Measure of a Man, which, I mean, this episode's kind of got that snowball rolling a little bit about when Moriarty was calling out the data sentience. Then just like, what about him? It's like,
please don't call me Itchy in front of the senior officers. Itchy and Q Ball. Every time I think of Q's son, I have that. Anyway. All right, guys, have a good rest of your show, and I'm out of here.
I'll talk to you later, Tyson.
Take care, Tyson.
And then we'll.
It feels unusual not having Katie here this week.
It does, but I mean, it's like she needs to do her. So.
Yeah, no, I know she's going through a lot. Poor thing.
Yeah.
Katie, if you're watching, I hope you take good care of yourself. We'll be back next week.
Oh yeah, she's going to be gone for the rest of the month.
Oh, is she? Oh, all right.
Yeah, she's not in a good place spiritually, physically. So I mean, Katie, you can take all the time that you need. We'll be here. We'll still be here when you get back.
Yeah.
But saying if you just putting it out there, do you want to be a guest co-host for a week?
I guess sure for to cover into
Yeah, because like next week's episode, we're going to talk the Enterprise episode Shuttlepod 1, which kind of so that's when Trip and Reader stuck on the shuttle, and they think the Enterprise has been destroyed, so they're regaling, they're getting drunk.
I never saw a lot of Enterprise, so it'll probably be new for me. So, I shall write it down now. What was the title again?
Shuttlepod 1.
Shuttlepod 1.
Season 1, episode 16, I want to say.
Episode 16. And that was season 1. Okay. If it's in season 1, I'll find it. Yeah.
Yeah, saying the week after that, we're going to kind of jump back to something slightly more recent. We're going to talk the series premiere of Lower Decks, Second Contact.
Okay. All right.
So that's a lot about, or as the way Beckett would say, friendship.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I think I remember that one. It'll be fun to revisit that. So
yeah, I think I just watched it yesterday, and I'll watch it again while I can take notes. But yeah, I think that'll be a good episode. Might try and find a second one to make the 2 30-minute episodes or 22, 24-minute episodes or whatever. But yeah, with the episode, not only does this one kind of tinkle a little bit with Measure of Man, which we talked about 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Right.
And saying just the character Moriarty kind of set the seed for the EMH, the holographic doctor.
Right.
And saying, so who knows how many years Zimmerman was tinkering with plots of creating a holographic doctor and whatnot.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what kind of sparked Zimmerman's idea. Have to dig a little deeper in that to see if that has anything.
I always thought it was kind of it's there for Voyager. He was their data in a way. He was only this now. It's a holodeck image instead of a computer android. So yeah.
And then of course, that living witness. They thought he was an android when he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish there was more participants instead of just the two of us.
I was because boy, when I started watching, we were getting some regular people in here, and now it's a shame that.
I'd say with the Twitter Spaces, but now that I migrated to YouTube, I just think there's a lot of bashful people. Just to reiterate that you do not have to have the camera on. You can just have the microphone. You can have a cute little avatar, and you can still talk like it's the Twitter Spaces day without the muskrat.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
Have you thought of maybe doing like a little? This is what I did for mine, although it didn't really help much at the time. But it might be for you. This might work if you did a because stories
Instagram
are only
Live.
24 hours. Make a
Mhm.
little story to just say, hey, tune in, Wednesday night. We're doing this. We're talking about this episode. Please come in and watch. And you can take that story and also use it as a short on YouTube. So it's like a little advertisement, like maybe just the day before, put it up.
That's an idea.
Hey, come in and
And,
tune in at this time, and yeah, we're gonna.
and
So
like I said, like yeah, Twitch is gaining like zero traction. So
yeah,
maybe I'll just change that up to Instagram because with the package that I have currently with StreamYard, I can only do like 3. So I got Facebook, YouTube. I gotta have YouTube, so that leaves
yeah,
2 more slots. And since I can't
yep,
do Twitter, say Facebook, Twitch.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, try a little short because that you can put that on Facebook even, or you can link your Facebook to Instagram even. So
Hmm.
because all my stories go up on my Facebook as well. So
I'll
yeah,
say that's a good idea. Thank you. See, I'll
yeah,
play around with that and
I'll go
see
back to
see
doing
what
that
happens
too.
with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
with
well,
the episode,
more
yeah, so
people.
yeah, measure of man, talk about the EMH.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
oh, well, two things when Worf shows up at the holodeck is it's like yeah he does look sharp and
Yeah, I thought it was a good
flexible too.
costume. I was like, and then he was hardly. Did he actually go in? I don't remember if he was
No,
there.
he was there as standby in case
Oh,
he would.
all right, okay. I was like, yeah, it was a
If,
shame they didn't end up. They put him in this really nice outfit, and I thought, oh, he didn't even go in there. So,
hmm. Yeah, then what was the episode that the crew encountered somebody and they thought that Worf was a werewolf?
oh God, yeah. Oh, I can't remember which one that was, but I do know
I,
something that
yeah,
happened.
I think he's like werewolf. It's like I
Yeah.
Klingon, sir. But the way that Worf was just taken off guard when Picard kind of with his top hat, it's just like he was
Yeah,
about to jump out of his skin when he did that.
right.
I don't know if that was scripted or if that was just legit. Just Dorn just being like, "What the what?" Because with the way people know the way they prank everybody on the show and stuff,
Yeah,
they ad lib.
I don't know if it was improvised or not.
Now let's see here. Actually, it's going.
There was two other things actually that I had kind of I didn't really take many notes, but there was just a couple of things I wrote down that I thought of when watching it.
Oh, you know,
Go ahead.
Time Zero. Time Zero was the episode.
Oh, all
Is
right.
when
Okay.
yeah, say when Clemens Mark Twain just like it's like
Oh, right.
werewolf. Mhm.
Is that funny? That's one of my favorite episodes too. That's right. That was the one.
That is a good episode too.
Those were
I,
yeah, those
I
were my favorites. Yeah, it was a
yeah,
two-parter that one.
yeah, I say I just saw like a little blip on yeah, I just saw thumbnail. That's the word I was looking for. God, I'm channeling some Katie tonight. Say, what is that thing called? The
Oh,
food warmer upper. Yeah. Say, bless her heart.
uh,
Yeah, she couldn't think of microwave, so she said the food warmer upper.
the food warmer upper.
Yep.
I
You're
there
saying
was only, hmm?
you were saying something. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, there was only a couple of little things that I jotted down. There was honestly I didn't really take notes, but there was just a few things I thought of. One of them was the paper
Hmm.
that they flipped up and down. The one thing that sort of struck me at the beginning of the episode, I not to sound a bit harsh, but I always thought Geordi Rue was a little bit of a dick at the beginning of the episode because he
Oh,
got mad
sorry.
at Data and he just so they ran in to do this program and then he just kind of got mad at stormed out. But then
Oh,
later they're
yeah.
talking to each other and I'm like, could you not have had that discussion at that moment? Like I thought he was going to freeze the program and then just talk about it there, like what the problem was. But instead he got mad and he stormed out and left Data standing there like kind of confused. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit harsh. I don't. Maybe they wrote it that way for dramatic.
Well, that way then that would allow Pulaski to eavesdrop on their
Yeah,
conversation, which is
yeah,
also a little kind of rude, but
yeah. That was too. Well, the
yeah.
conversation she had was really good though when they were trying to figure out
Oh,
how to play it. I thought
yeah.
that was a good conversation, but
Yeah, because typically I have about a good 3 to 5 pages of notes from the
mm.
episode, but here I just got just back in 2 full sides and then just a little bit there
Oh
there
yeah,
there
yeah.
on the end, and then just like other pages is that. It's just like, wow, I guess this I was looking forward to it. I remember what a great episode it was, but once it came to the point of talking about it here,
Yeah.
I just like, oh, I was like honestly a little
It
disappointed. It
felt
was still a great episode to
yeah.
revisit.
It felt time-wise like shorter, but I mean, it's the same. They were all the same length, but it's funny that this one felt shorter for some reason. I don't know why. I felt like it was like a 20 to 30 minute episode as opposed to like a 45, 50 minute episode. But no, it's the same
Yeah.
length. They're all. But did you happen to also? I had to go back and re-listen to it because I misunderstood what he said the first time because he was, um, because Data's trying to talk like Sherlock Holmes and this
Yeah.
bad accent. Which I thought for an android would have done a better accent. But anyways, I thought it was funny that. But he said something in there when Pulaski got kidnapped and they're
Mhm.
following them and he's taking note of the footsteps. And then they
Mhm.
go down to that aisle and he's talking to him about it. And he starts describing the individual and he said something like, um, the weight would indicate somebody masculine.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I and maybe I guess maybe he meant the way that they were walking, or maybe he somehow deduced the type of person. So I had to listen to it again. I thought, okay, maybe I can kind of see what he's saying. But the first time I heard it, I thought, it couldn't have been an overweight woman. I don't.
Yeah. But,
But yeah, that was the one where the kind of. But I kind of understand. I think it was when I kind of rewound it a little bit and then watched it again just to listen to the way he worded it.
looking at some of the things off of IMDb.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, they have like all the little.
Yeah, even IMDb didn't have a lot of like notes on
Mm.
certain things and whatnot. Let's see here. There's Data's Homes.
Joe, I had to look up the actress. We were just talking to her about her a few minutes ago, and I was going to say something I'd forgotten. The plays Pulaski, Diana
Muldaur.
Muldar. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought, because I know I remember seeing her in an older episode, and I know the one she didn't talk, but one of them she did. And I don't know why I was thinking that maybe she was originally British, but she's not. I looked up and it says, no, she was born in New York. But she's so well spoken. Um,
Hmm.
she articulates so well, and I thought maybe if it was a bit of what they call like a transatlantic influence, maybe on her early stage. Maybe the fact that
Possible.
she doesn't sound. It's so weird because it's not. She doesn't speak British, but it doesn't sound like a typical American accent. There's something very formal. It must be in her theatrical training
Hmm.
that why she speaks as well as she does. But
Yeah, she
um,
hasn't. Wow, she hasn't been in anything in a long time.
no, she kind of retired, I think, retired early.
Yeah.
I noticed that
Well,
too. No, she hadn't done in much since, yeah.
the last thing that she's done was Dr. Leslie Tompkins in a couple episodes of Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yes, that's right. She did do a couple of voices in there. Yeah, I remember. That's right. I remember hearing the voice, and I kept going, "What if I heard that?" And it clicked that that was Dr. Pulaski.
Yeah. Talking about that reminds me when I finally figured out who um, Mr. Feeney was in Boy Meets World.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's one point he said something talking to said Michael. I don't remember what episode, but when he said Michael, I just like
And then you
I,
yeah.
it's like, oh my God, that's Kip.
Yeah.
Hey, before the advent of the internet and all that, you couldn't look things like that up. You just like that was like probably one of the biggest epiphanies ever for me. But
Oh, she's 86. I think she's 76. So I looked it up again real quick. She
yeah, her birthday. Oh yeah, she just had a birthday last month. Not even a month
86.
ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am out of notes and ideas on anything else
Well,
to really kind
can I
of
ask
bring
can I
up
ask what
those
made
I
you
haven't
decide
covered.
this particular episode?
What's that?
Can I ask what made you decide this particular episode?
Well, I thought that there was more of a friendship bonding thing with Data and Geordi
Right.
in this episode, but I mean, it's just like friends just having fun on the holodeck, and
Mhm.
like any Star Trek episode involving the holodeck, things go cuckoo.
Yeah. I was
I
wondering if
kind
you
of think,
continue with that theme, but it was yeah, because they do yeah, it is sort of a Data and Geordi episode in a way, really. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I've been just doing a series of like friendship bonding with
right.
characters and whatnot. That's why I'd say with next week talking Trip and Reed being stranded
Right.
on that shuttle together, because early episodes they're always butting heads in the
Mhm.
early episodes because they just have different mindsets. So I figured that I'm thinking that would be a good one to where you can actually see them starting to understand one another
More,
and become closer friends in the process. And so that,
yeah.
but
Okay.
I guess yeah, this episode was a little bit of a hiccup. So sorry, anybody that's
Oh no, no
watching it.
worries. No, no. I
Well, I mean,
mean,
I'm just saying sorry to anyone that just doesn't think that this is up to par from, like I said, Garrick and Bashir and
usually we have four
O'Brien.
people in here talking too, so to get everybody out, we usually have a longer discussion. But it's been like an hour and 40 or well, hour and
Hour and
15.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
I got a little clock up here that tells how long the stream has been going.
Oh yeah, there it is too. The little live thing. Yeah, I can see
Oh,
it.
you have it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But
All right. But yeah, the I'm finding these episodes, I guess, because they are, as you said, they're more centered on secondary characters in limited situations. So
mhm,
again, it's limited. I mean, this all takes place in just a limited area on the Enterprise and on the holodeck and a bit on the bridge. There's not
yeah,
much else going on the
see,
ship, right? It's
yeah, exactly.
that.
I think the only bit on that we see on the bridge is when Geordi's command causes a blip on Worf's console.
Mhm.
Excuse me. I
Yes,
think
yeah, I
yeah,
guess that was. Did they ever, when did? Oh, and then there was the boardroom where they
yeah, the conference
they
room.
discussed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, then engineering, and then yeah, it's engineering, holodeck, conference room, bridge.
Mhm.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes, it was really limited sets, but I guess a lot of the you could tell a lot was building London,
Mhm.
1800s London.
Indeed.
But yeah, there was some nice set pieces in that though. I thought it really
Oh
took me.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
But I'm glad I finally actually got the right episode. I almost downloaded a fistful of data or datas, and I was like, it was only because
well,
I suddenly remembered that. Wait a minute, no, this was the one that was the Moriarty episode. This isn't the right one. So,
well, glad you're able to get to the right one. So,
yeah,
but like I said, yeah, next week Shuttle Pod 1, then Lower Decks Second Contact. So
Second Contact is called it. Okay.
yeah, season 1, episode 1.
Oh, all right. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
the
say
very first one. All right. All
the
right.
very first one. Yeah,
I
say
shall
with
write that down now.
the rage virus on the ship, and
Because I remember I
Yeah,
didn't think I was going to like Lower Decks when it started, and I thought, oh, is this going to be one of those types of things? And I thought, no, but I kind of got a kick out of the first episode, and when, all right, I'll try the second one. And as they went on, I found myself enjoying it more and more. But I was almost sort of prepared by the trailers to like not like Lower Decks. I thought this is going to bomb, but no.
yeah. I've never watched an episode of Rick and Morty, so this was a joy to. I maybe see like snippets on YouTube, but like a full episode, not a one.
Same here. Yeah, I've never seen Rick and Morty. Same as you. Caught bits and pieces of it because my roommates had watched it, and I would walk in and caught maybe like half an episode at the most. But
Yeah.
I never saw, never really watched chunks of it. But I always thought maybe one day I might have to go back and watch it. But it's I don't know. To take it was what, it's like seventh season or something like that. I
Something
think.
like that now, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shows that's just like, oh, I'll catch it, but then it's just like, oh, there's so much to catch up on now. And
Oh,
same,
something else that I was going to mention too, and I guess before I mention it now, was I didn't. I guess because I was talking to somebody about Strange New Worlds.
hmm
I was really enjoying that because I didn't couldn't get into Discovery, but I've really been enjoying Strange New Worlds. So it has been, I guess, renewed for third and fourth season.
hmm
But they're not. They're just starting to shoot it, I guess. So it's not going to be
No,
available until late.
they're done shooting season 3.
All right.
Yeah, saying it's probably going to be like, I'm guessing February, March next year they'll finally put that out. I don't think they've started shooting season 4 though.
Oh, all right. So they are done shooting. Okay, I thought they were.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
maybe that's what they were
season
referring to.
3.
Was that because season 4 was already greenlit, that they're going to maybe start shooting that later next year. Then, so okay, that would
Mhm.
maybe that's season 4. Then, all right, all right. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited to see the next season on that. I've really been enjoying that show a lot, actually. So
yeah, me too. And the cliffhanger they left us with are just like,
I
you know
know.
everyone's going to can't
Oh,
come out
sure.
fine,
Yeah.
but yeah, because we know Pike's future, so we know
Yes.
that at least. But they keep on dabbling with, we want to completely screw with the fans and give them a different future, which I pray to God they don't.
Yeah. I mean, we know they can establish different timelines now, right? Because you have the Kelvin timeline and all that. So,
Yeah,
they
but
can do that, I guess, if they want.
yeah, but this is established as the prime timeline. So
Right.
unless they decide to do something to create another timeline, which that too, this is why I've not been a fan of prequel series.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though with Stranger Worlds they are starting to do it right, they are doing it more episodic. Even though they got arcs involved, it's still episodic in nature. So
Right.
you can miss an episode or two and not be completely lost.
Mm.
Whereas any of the other shows, like, I mean, even like Lower Decks does have, it's more episodic in nature, but it has that one reaching arc that kind of ties it all together.
Right. Mm.
And I'm thinking like the season 4 definitely had that big arc with Locarno snagging all those ships and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't seen season 4 yet,
Yeah.
sorry for that spoiler, people.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's been a year now, so. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna sign it off for now. If you want to talk more at once we go offline, you're welcome
Yeah.
to.
I can stick around and chat for a little bit. Yeah, for
Yeah, all
sure.
right.
But yeah, I
So
figured that was, I was going for an hour and a half. It's not bad. So,
yeah. So until next week again, Shuttlepod 1, season 1, episode. I want I want to make sure to. Actually, I think I actually got it pulled up right here. Uh, Yep, season 1, episode 16. I was right. Yay.
yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, directed by guy David Livingston, who's been with Trek since the Next Generation era. He's a good guy. Saying I don't know the director David Livingston, but I got a good friend David Livingston in real life. I worked with at a place for mom many years ago. So if you're watching David, I if not, eh. nonetheless. But until next time, peace out, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right.